sure that you have the exact piece of information. You just want to get as clear as possible on the detail. That's the most important thing. What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the Falcon YouTube channel. Hope everybody is doing well. So another episode of the Falcon Show. Really excited at this one as we're going to be going over so many areas. We're going to be going over trade of the month. We're going to be going over the top 3 pairs that I think is going to be hugely beneficial for you guys to focus on for the remainder of the year, but more so into November. And we're going to be going into some mindset stuff that I think is crucial, really important, especially if your goal is to be consistent. And just going into the areas that I think most traders forget about that could be the thing that's holding you back. So I'm excited to get into the show. Let's dive straight in, guys. Right, guys, so let's start off with trade of the month. So trade of the month for myself was Euro, New Zealand dollar. Euro pairs have been very good for October. Can't believe we're so far into the year already. You know, it's going to go around really quick. So Euro pairs have just been good across the board. I feel there's been lots of opportunities. I've taken a few on Euro Kiwi in particular. Some of them have been fairly decent. Some have just tagged me out and then gone on to bank a decent amount of profit. But this one was really decent for quite a few reasons. So let's go over it. So here we have on the weekly chart, Euro Kiwi. Now, for those of you that don't know Falcon, we focus predominantly on pattern identification. It's a big part of what we do. So as you can see here, we've got a huge expanding formation here. Now, you might be wondering how comes that doesn't attach to here, or why doesn't it go through the price? At this point, this part is irrelevant to me. This is kind of finding its new feet. But what you can see is it does encompass this overall bigger expanding formation. So that tells me one thing. From a high time frame perspective, this can be a lot of room to the downside. So we still have a lot of room here to play if we're looking for any sell setups. But of course, we're going into the lower time frames and digging into that a little bit deeper. So even from a daily perspective, what I really liked about this structure and this trade was the separation of what's happening here. So impulsive leg down, big corrective structure. You need to know how to dissect this, of course. So then naturally, we're looking for that impulsive wave to the downside, targeting these lows. But at the first point of reflection, we're aware that we may not get that whole trade in one go. So essentially what we're doing here is that we're building on this in stages. We may have an outlook that we're looking from, let's say, here to here, but we may not get there all in one go. We may have to get involved maybe 2 or 3 times and bank some percentage points along the way, let the market develop. So let's go to the 4 hours. So what I liked about this one was very clean structures. So I identified it in a very value area here. We originally had this type of formation where it didn't quite get to that third touch, but we also had our double top in here as well. So it gave us more than enough room, clean identification here. So what was key for me was dissecting this. For those of you that are not familiar with this tool, this is bars pattern. So definitely go and check that out. You can take the price action and then you can study it, get some more clarity in what you're doing. So looking at it like this, we like to dissect what's going on here. So I can see 1, 2, 3. I can dissect this as one piece of its own. So this is now ending and then starting a new one. So this gave us a lot of clarity in this area that, right, we want to look for selling opportunities because we was able to separate the structures. I mean, it was as clean as day. The Euro pairs across the board were very clean. And when we go to the 1 hour chart, again, this was just typical continuation play. What I like about this and what makes this trade of the month for me is not just a percentage. So tidy profit just under 5%, so 4.7%. Some people in the community got in a little bit higher, tied to stops, got some scale-ins, and some people had just got out around this area as well, banking some seriously big returns, but very conservative, very happy with that 4.7. But what was interesting about this is that, listen guys, I've been trading patterns for years, 2008 when I first started. So patterns have been a big part of my game. So they may look like a simple ascending channel or an expanding pattern or a double top, but there's much more depth that goes into that. So when I see something like this, this is as picture perfect as it gets in terms of patterns for the sequence within it. So you might just see, it just looks like an expanding type formation, right? But I see all of these sections, they mean something. All of these sections, and we even end here, which was really fascinating, is that we have this inverse head and shoulders in the last part to push to the upside. So we expected this push to the upside, identifying this value area, and then we look for the sell. So what I liked about this trade in particular was the fact that these trades, they're not by accident, they're very deliberate, they're planned way in advance, they're backed by the data. These consistently play out because the behavior is the same. Remember, we're looking at human psychology, human behavior, these patterns consistently repeat themselves. So what we do is we dissect all of these areas of this to determine whether it's a high quality trade, average trade, and it's a sliding scale. There's not one thing defines which thing, but essentially what we're doing is we're stacking the odds in our favor. So value area for us, after we broke that double top, we looked for an entry. There was overall, I believe there was, again on the 4 hour, there was essentially one entry there, another entry, potentially another entry within the pattern, and another entry. There was 3 to 4 entries, right? So the good thing about that is how we like to trade is that we don't want to just be waiting for one thing, and then if that doesn't happen, you miss the trade. And then what do? You chase your tail, you try and get in too late, and then before you know it, you're taking trades that you know you shouldn't be, that don't have any congruency with your plan whatsoever. So it's important that you have a system that allows you to be able to get in, not just one way and one time. There needs to be other criteria, and you're not always going to get 4 entries on the way down, but you at least want a couple, right? So this is what I liked about it. It's the reason why it made it for Trade of the Month for me. It's not just the percentage point alone. It's the pattern, the clarity, the higher time frame, the sequence, the amount of entries on the way down. You would have at least got 1, and some people got 2, some people got 3. But overall, could I have squeezed a little bit more? Possibly, but I wasn't looking to take it any other way. We looked at a value area here at this low, created a very, very typical pattern. So I was happy with that across the board. The only way this would have changed if I had it, I would have had to have known at pretty much just over 3%. And if I held for that pullback, I would have been out now anyway for around 7.7. But either way, 100% of something is better than 100% of nothing. So you can't be greedy in this game. Consistency is consistency at the end of the day. So a very nice trade. Really, really enjoyed this one as a pattern play. And I think across the board, we're seeing patterns and structures, they're getting cleaner and cleaner. There seems to be this commitment coming into the markets. So Q1 for me and Q4 always seems to be the best quarter in terms of pattern identification, in terms of just momentum across the board and consistencies of what we have an opportunity. So I expect it to ramp up. Finished on over 10% for the month for myself. Didn't take too many trades. So for me, 6 trades overall. So there is the US election coming up very soon, which is not that far away. We have about, how many days are we away? So we're about 2 or 3 days away, I believe. And I'm not going to trade into that because we get a lot of questions about that. I often talk about something called news creates volatility, not direction. That's all well and true. But truthfully saying that if it's something like Brexit or there's elections, use your common sense. Stay out, it's not worth it. In the one scenario that you stay in a trade and you just bank a really, really big amount, large sums of money or a big percentage point, it's not worth the risk, and there's no scale in that. So I'll personally be staying out day before. You don't need to wait a whole week and don't trade the markets. It's nothing like that. But day before, I don't really want to be involved in anything, slippage, gaps. It's just not worth it in my opinion. But yeah, trade of the month, very, very nice trade, and even on a weekly, expanding formations on this pair play out very, very well. You can even see it with this overall expanding here. See how that expands there? Very nice pattern play, especially this last leg. This is beautiful. So just repeating itself again, and then we're just taking advantage of that move. Euro Kiwi has a long way to go, by the way, so this could go on for a lot longer. I'm not in for it for the longer term trade right now, but I'm interested to see how this develops. Could we come back up and tag the top again before the sell-off? It could, because this whole move could become a very complex correction. But as far as the pattern itself, it was very, very clean. And we may get a more developed correction in here. And for the Falcon guys, of course, you'll know about entry criteria, what you'll be looking for. Then we'll be looking to take that to the downside. Alternatively, if we get a heads up here in this area, then that may give us a signal that short term, we might be tagging the top again. So we'll see, and we'll manage that accordingly. But that is trade of the month, guys and girls. Let me know in the comments what your trade of the month was. I'm fully aware that not all of you, of course, trade our strategy. You have your own strategy. I'll be curious to know what was the best trade that you found. And it's not always percentage point. What was the best trade that you found that you done really well on in terms of sticking to your plan, how you forecasted it, the planning of the trade, the execution and the management? I'll be curious to know. But that is trade of the month. Now what I want to get into, guys, is just 2 to 3 pairs that I believe that will be very beneficial to be on the radar for you moving forward for next month. Let's take a look at those now. Right guys, so what are the top 3 things that you want to focus on for next month? So got a couple here. So we have Kiwi CAD, dollar Swiss and dollar CAD. Some really, really great opportunities. Let's start off with Kiwi CAD. So Kiwi CAD is one of those pairs that when it's really good, it's really good. And when it's messy, it's messy. As you can see from price action here, sometimes it gets pretty ugly. Leave it alone. There's better opportunities that you can focus on. But what I want to bring your attention to is potentially some patterns and historical data repeating itself. So what can we see here? So this was a move that we capitalized on back in, what date are we here? So again, yeah, around the March time, 2019. You can see this bit of price action. Let's take it. Can you see any similarities? You can see it all there already. Look at that. So when I'm looking at a bit of price action here, forget about the pattern. So however you're trading, the goal for this part of the show is for me to identify some high value areas for you guys, and however you trade, whatever strategy you've got, then gives you a sense of clear direction to which way the higher time frames are going. So very, very important that you actually know what that looks like. So looking at it here, you can see similarities. What can we see? The potential for this larger double top rejection. We get this M style pattern that we know, and then we push to the downside. As you can see, that big wave all the way to the downside, superseding the low. So very nice move there. So what can we learn from that? Well, to me, this looks like a premature move, same thing. So I'm looking at this. I mean, as far as patterns go, this is super clean. So what do we have? We have our section here that we know how to identify, and then we have this move up here. So what we're looking for is essentially Kiwi CAD to just pop up just a little bit higher, and this is just the value area there. How we get there is very important. That will determine for us at Falcon how we execute on the move. But the value area here, this is perfect for November. It really is. And if we go to the 1 hour chart, what I like about it is what I went over with Traded a Month with Euro Kiwi. Remember me talking about inverse head and shoulders and how each part of the sequence played out very well in terms of how clean the patterns are. Not many people know about this or go into that level of depth, by the way, but where it's been part of my trading for so long, I'm obsessed with this. But you can see originally, there's a reason we weren't looking for any kind of sells here, for the reason that we've got this inverse head and shoulders there. So no surprise that this is popping to the upside. So I'm expecting some corrective structures. We'll move up here. Whether we get here very slowly or we suddenly get here with some rapid movements, that doesn't really matter to us. All that matters is that we get to that area. And if we do get to that area, we can then capitalize on this move to the downside. I would be expecting a move from this area all the way to that low and supersede that low. But to be completely honest, even if we just get to here, there's a decent enough percentage point for this to move up, look for some entry criteria that what we focus on in this area, and then sell from here to here. And likely 1, 2, maybe 3 trades, we'll see. If that goes on and then breaks and then keeps going, then perfect, you're in a fantastic trade. If not, then that's more than enough for November. So again, it's just one of those ones, as you can see, if you just look at price action on the 4 hour, pure mess. I don't want to be trading in that sort of area. Again, very messy structure. This starts to get a little bit cleaner, sells off, violent pullback. And normally a violent pullback is the start of a more complex correction. But now we've had more information, this actually looks really clean. So this can go from looking super ugly to really clean. And if you look back from before, look at this again. What are we seeing? Very, very typical. There we go. Double top. Beautiful. So it's not that it's a double top. I mean, a double top is a standard thing. A lot of you will know that. It's the double top in the area and dissecting the psychology of what happened here and what happened here and how did it get there is so important as to whether this is just an average short-term trade or a potential beast. And this looks like a potential beast. So let's see how that plays out. But we do need more information, because if we don't get to that area, then no trade, not interested. You know, if this suddenly sold off here, then we could still move to the upside, but it may be taking a little bit longer than we expected. But as we can see right now, this looks like it's in play to move to that area. Then we'll assess it and we'll look for those sales. So for those of you traders, I would keep an eye out on Kiwi CAD. I think there'll be some decent opportunities. Now $2 pairs. Now, of course, there's a lot of speculation around, you know, the elections and all that type of stuff. But guys, technicals are the technicals. doesn't change anything. It hasn't done for so many years. And if we look here on the daily, what I like about dollar Swiss is, what have we got? A lot of people seeing this as support. We broke the support. We're looking for this as retest. You know, how are we looking at this? Let us know in the comments how you're looking at dollar Swiss as a whole. What I see is this is just a fake out. This is just a fake out, catching traders again on the wrong side of the market, catching retail on the wrong side of the market. Again, the amateurs selling the lows and buying the highs. So right now what they're doing is selling the lows. This is not the areas that you want to be selling in. Is there a potential for this to become a more complex correction and move lower? Yes, but it's such a small chance right now based off of what the pattern and the structure is showing us, which gives us confidence and clarity. And when I go down to the 4 hour, let's remove that ray line. I'm just looking at this. Very, very simple, guys. Price action 101, double bottom formation. A lot of you will know what that is. Now it's just a matter as how do we get to these areas and what kind of entry criteria could we look for either here or as we move up around these sort of areas. So if you're a Falcon student, then of course you'll have the clarity and you know what to look for. For those of you that are not trading our way and that you're looking for entries on dollar Swiss, have a plan in place. Don't just chase the trade. Don't just buy that just because I said there's a buy. Wait for some confirmation that fits with your plan. But overall, as a sense of direction, I think dollar Swiss has the potential to be showing us a very, very strong impulsive wave. So I just see these lows as, right, we've tagged people on the low, we've caught traders on the wrong side, this is not a retest, we're creating a double bottom formation, then we're moving to the upside and we're likely going to move towards these highs here, all the way back up here and potentially even higher. So I'm expecting an impulsive wave, but again, being attached to nothing. We're not attached to a particular bias, we have to make an assumption based off of what we're seeing off the data, right? The patterns are clear, and for what I'm seeing right now, I would not be looking for selling opportunities here. You're just asking for average trades, only looking for buys here. So let's see how that develops. So for those of you guys, dollar Swiss to the upside, let's see if we get those trades in November, and dollar CAD seeing exactly the same thing. So dollar CAD is making its way down on the weekly chart. So remember in these areas we were talking about selling opportunities, bigger sell setup coming on dollar CAD as we've sold off to these areas. But now we're at this low. This low is interesting because how we got to the low, a lot of people will be analyzing this bit of data. What I'm more interested in is this price action. How did we get to these areas? That really determines whether I think we're going to blast straight through or form some sort of pullback. So I wouldn't be surprised, like dollar Swiss, and of course this is dependent on the DXY as well. If the DXY gets that pop to the upside, then I would expect either price to move down here, break the low, catch traders on the wrong side again, and then we'd be moving to the upside. So just be aware, guys, at this area. How we get there will be crucial to the type of quality of entry. And if we don't make our way to the low, then we're creating something far more complex. You know, we may be moving up here, coming back down again, but the low is important to me. So I don't chase trades in these areas. If there's no clarity and there's no clear picture, then look at how many pairs we have to trade. What you'll find is, and you know, as you become more experienced as a trader, you'll find that the market is not as fast as what you think. The market takes a little bit of time. But this is why we have variation, because when something's very slow, like euro pound right now, euro sterling, it is so corrective. I would not want to be trading euro sterling at the moment. But when it's good, it's really good. So don't chase trades because the market's not as fast as what you think. So you're better off focusing on the high quality anyway. But again, top 3 for myself that I think that you guys will take massive benefit from is Euro Kiwi, not so much. I think the majority of that trade is done now and it will be far too complex. If you're not a Falcon member, you won't know how to deal with it. Kiwi CAD, very obvious value area to look for selling opportunities. Dollar Swiss, we're in the area now to be looking for those buy opportunities. We just need that confirmation. And then dollar CAD, we're slightly further away, but we're in the area. So little push down, ideally break the low, and again, get people caught on the wrong side, selling the lows where the amateurs are, wash all the orders up, and then we move to the upside. So just typical psychology 101 of the markets. Let's see how that plays out. Keep it simple. Keep it simple, don't overcomplicate it. But those are the top 3 for next month. I hope this serves you very well, gives you some clarity to focus on. If you're wondering and you're maybe new to the markets, new to the channel, make sure that you like, you comment, and you subscribe and you engage with us. Let us know your thoughts. If there's anything that you've found helpful on the channel, anything that you find beneficial that you've learned that's helped you break through. And if you're scrambling around thinking, what pairs do I focus on? What are good opportunities? Well, you've got 3 to focus on, and put your own twist on it. If you have your own strategy, perfect. But I think these are going to be beautiful for November. I really do. So Kiwi CAD, dollar Swiss, and dollar CAD. And to be honest, unless you know what you're doing, I would leave Euro Kiwi alone and a few of the other Euro pairs as well. But we'll see how those plays out. And guys, I hope you've been enjoying the show so far and you're taking a lot of value. I appreciate you tuning in every single time. And as the shows develop and grow, we're going to be adding some more things. Right guys, so we're going to be talking about the book chapter for the month. So this is actually my book, so 10 steps to achieving your goals, and I get so many requests for this. So this is currently not available at the moment. It hasn't been for over, I think maybe 2 years now. So I'm going to be doing a relaunch very soon. December is looking around the right sort of time, so stay tuned for that. And for those of you that are curious about the book, let me know in the comments and I may put a form up and give you more insights. But I will be doing a full review about this and all of the insights over on my personal channel as well. So if you haven't subscribed to my personal channel, go ahead over there and I'll be giving you more behind the scenes of what is going to be next. Is there going to be some new additions to the chapter, all that kind of good stuff. So for this part, guys, I'm going to get into chapter 6, which is step 2 in my book. Detail is key. So detail is key. This is really, really important. So why is this important and why is this relevant right now? Well, if you think about detail, because a lot of people, they often ask me, Mark, I want to be a 6-figure trader. I want to be a 7-figure trader. I want to be funded. I want to do this and I want to do that. And then when you ask them, where's your list of goals? They don't have any. And why is that? It's because they lack detail. And when you lack detail, you lack clarity. So for example, what I talk about in this particular chapter, because it's unlikely if you'd have the book, I talk about a car in this part, right? I'm talking about the detail. I'm talking about a Porsche 911 GT3, right? So the Porsche 911 GT3. And I'm talking about the dates. I'm talking about the horsepower. I'm talking about the RPM, I'm talking about the 0 to 60, I'm talking about the lever, the interior, the sensors involved, the gearbox, the speed, the color of the calipers, as specific as possible. So what you want to do is that you want to start to define your goals in excruciating detail. The more detail, the better. Because the more detail, the more likely that when you start getting into those kind of granular details, what happens is you start to think about, oh, hold on a minute, no, I wouldn't want that. Oh, why wouldn't I want that? Actually, this is what I want. So what it does is it acts as a filtering mechanism for you to figure out what you actually want. So at the surface level, don't just say that you want to be a 6-figure trader. That's not good enough. That won't actually push you, because it's unlikely that you'll have the self-belief to achieve it, because there's no clarity. You've just got this, I want to be a 6-figure trader. I just want to be a 7-figure trader. Yeah, but what does that actually look like for you? What does your routine look like? What's your ideal day? How do you want to trade? Are you a trader that just trades the London session, for example? And what time zone do you live in? If you live in Australia, what does that look like for you? If you live in the UK, what does that look like for you? Are you going to go to the gym in the morning? Is this part of your routine? Do you do yoga? Whatever it is, you need to map out, what does it look like for you? Because what I find is, and this is through my own experience of achieving goals and hitting my goals consistently over a 10-year period now, is that the more detailed, the better. And whenever I've struggled with a goal, or it's gone on for a little bit longer and I've not achieved it in this kind of the time frame that I expected, and it's not always important, it's not about deadlines and timelines as such, but whenever a goal has taken me a lot longer than what I expected, it's always been because I've lacked detail. I thought I had enough detail, but I didn't, A car is very easy because you just literally go through every little detail of the car. But when you're thinking about trading, for example, there's more to it than that. So you might just think, well, I just want to be a consistently profitable trader. How much more detail can I get into that? Well, the truth is, if you don't do that, what's the alternative? What's the downsides of you not doing that? Well, you just have this wishy-washy goal and you'll keep fantasizing about achieving it, but you'll lack the detail. So detail in everything that you do is so important. So what can you do right now? Well, imagine you're a trader and you've got these big ambitions to trade full-time, for example. What I'd like you to do is grab a pen and paper, and pen and paper is important. I want you to write this down. I want you to get really connected to your goal. Forget about typing this on technology for now. I want you to grab a pen and paper, go super old school right now, and I want you to connect, because it's going to open up more neural pathways than what you realize. Thousands of more neural pathways in your mind when you put pen to paper connection. And I want you to start to map out your ideal life of a trader, and what does that look like? Get excited about it, get enthusiastic about it, and really start to visualize your time zone, how you trade, because you might be trading a completely different strategy. How are you trading in the morning? What does that look like for you? How would you like to spend your day? Is there any other income streams there by any chance? You know, are you trading and doing something else like a side business? Are you trading and working because the job that you do is really rewarding and you love that? You know, get that in detail as much as possible. And I can promise you this, and you can either do that and then go and comment on this video after, you will have more clarity than ever before. And why is that important? Because the more detailed you are on your goals, the more inspired you'll be every day. You'll be super inspired on a constant basis. You'll be focused, more focused than what you were ever before. And you'll get to a point where every single day you're so fired up focusing on your goals, because there's so much detail involved that you subconsciously start to move towards your goals. See, that supercomputer that you're training in your mind, this new program that you're putting in, it needs to be more efficient. Because if you're running the old software, it's like having a phone, right? What happens when you've got old software in your phone? It needs updating. You've got all these bug fixes. This is the same thing. You know, so all these details, they need to change. So the clearer that you get and you update your supercomputer and you're putting that new software that's relevant to where you see your vision of your future life now, because you've probably changed as a person, that needs updating, and the detail part is crucial. So I'm excited for you guys to do that exercise. Let me know how you get on, but honestly, I can't stress enough, detail is key. Right guys, so mindset tip of the month. This is really, really important. Something that you may have heard me talk about before quite a while ago, which is aggressive patience. And the reason why I want to talk about it now is I do believe it's more important now than ever, especially the time frame that we're in. So end of October, moving into the last 2 months of the year, we're looking at how do we get the most out of November and December. Aggressive patience. So what does that mean? Well, if you think about your goals and your goals in general, it's really easy to get caught up into this mindset where you want to be patient, and everybody says, right, be patient with your goals. You might be a trader where you want to be a 6-figure, 7-figure trader. You want to be a full-time trader, have that financial independence where you're not relying on anybody else and you're fully in control. And then people tell you to be patient, and you think, well, what does that mean? Do I just wait and wait and wait? Well, how I see it is like this. Aggressive patience is having the mindset to be patient on the macro. Right, so you're patient on the bigger picture. The bigger picture is that you want to be this successful trader, you want to trade this amount of figures or whatever it is, the lifestyle that you want. So that's the bigger picture. That might take you 2 years, might take you 3 years, might take you 5 years, whatever it is. That is the bigger part where you have to be patient on that, because things take time, you know, but if you're focused, you've got the plan, you'll get there. So where does aggressive patience come in? Well, aggressive patience is simply what can you make sure that you do daily that ensures that you move towards that vision, that you're not caught up just waiting, thinking, oh, when's it going to happen for me? So it's about right now, what can you do? What is aggressive patience? What could that look like for you every single day? Daily goals. I've spoken about it before and I'll speak about it again. Aggressive patience is showing up every single day, doing small things that you know is going to contribute towards the macro, the bigger picture where you're patient. So aggressive patience is you every day knowing that, right, what have I done? Right, I've done my ASR, I've done some back testing, I've watched educational content, done some journaling, I've then read 30 pages of a book that's going to develop me being more of a decisive person so I can be more decisive in the market. So aggressive patience is doing the things daily, the small little things that contribute towards the bigger picture. So the next time someone says to you, right, just be patient, that doesn't mean sit there and do nothing. It means understand that things take time, and just because you want to be a successful trader in a year, it doesn't mean that that timeline or that deadline that you set there has to happen, and then you get upset because you're not there yet. You can't just pluck these dates out of thin air. You can measure yourself and you can push towards it, but be aggressively patient. So be patient on the macro, the bigger picture of all areas of life, all goals that you have. But be aggressively patient and go after it in full force every single day, and feel confident that you know that you're doing things daily, ticking them off that are congruent with the bigger vision. So aggressive patience. So guys, thanks for tuning in to this episode. I hope you really enjoyed it and you took away some very valuable insights as to what is so important. As I said, end of October, we're going into November. 2 more months until the end of the year. Let's get dialed in, laser focused, and more importantly, detail is key. Wherever you can, honestly guys, get your goals down in excruciating detail, as much detail as possible, because then naturally you have more clarity. So I hope this has given you a valuable insight, and of course, those pairs to look out for November and December. I think we have so much opportunity. The markets are shaping up very, very nice indeed. And I hope you guys really enjoyed this episode. As always, thank you for tuning in. Can't wait for what we've got in the works on this channel. Have an incredible weekend wherever you are in the world, and I'll speak to you all soon. Take care, everyone.